There is a moment in many women's lives that no one around them notices. From the outside, nothing appears different. The routines continue. The responsibilities remain. The same people surround her, but internally, something has shifted. The roles she once played begin to feel heavy. The expectations she once lived by begin to feel unfamiliar. And for the first time, a quiet question begins to form in her mind. What if I stopped living for everyone else and finally chose myself? Carl Jung believed that every person carries two lives, the life they show the world and the life that lives quietly inside them. For many years, these two lives are not the same. A woman may slowly become who she was expected to be, the dependable one, the accommodating one, the one who keeps the peace, the one who takes care of everyone else. Jung called this the persona, the mask we develop in order to function within society. The persona is not necessarily harmful. It allows us to adapt to the world around us. But problems begin when a person becomes completely identified with the mask, when the persona becomes the entire identity. Over time, something deeper within the psyche begins to feel distant, almost forgotten, as if the true self has been quietly waiting somewhere behind the scenes. And eventually, the psyche refuses to remain silent. Often this turning point arrives during a period when life begins to feel strangely repetitive. The same relationship patterns appear again and again. The same emotional exhaustion returns. The same sense of carrying responsibilities that never seem to end. Jung believed that moments like this are not meaningless suffering. They are signals from the unconscious. Signals that the psyche is asking for transformation. This transformation is what Jung called individuation, the process of becoming who you truly are. But individuation rarely begins with comfort. It begins with confrontation. Because when a woman begins choosing herself, she must eventually encounter the parts of herself she was taught to hide. Jung called this hidden realm the shadow. The shadow is not simply darkness. It contains everything that has been pushed out of awareness. Anger that once felt unacceptable. Ambition that was discouraged. Boundaries that once felt dangerous to set. Desires that did not fit the image of the good woman. For many women, choosing themselves means recognizing that these hidden parts were never truly wrong. They were simply unwelcome. Perhaps they were judged. Perhaps they were misunderstood. Perhaps they threatened the expectations others had placed upon her. But the shadow does not disappear simply because it is ignored. Instead, it quietly influences behavior from behind the scenes. It can appear as self-sabotage, as exhaustion, as resentment that cannot easily be explained, as a feeling that something important has been lost. This is why Jung believed that confronting the shadow is essential for self-knowledge. Because when a woman begins to see these hidden parts clearly, something powerful happens. She begins to recognize the invisible rules she once lived by. The expectation to always be agreeable, the pressure to make others comfortable, the belief that her value depended on how much she sacrificed. The quiet voice that once said, "Don't be difficult. Don't disappoint anyone. Don't take up too much space." For a long time, these rules may have felt like moral truths, but eventually she begins to see them differently. She begins to realize they were never universal laws. They were expectations, and when this realization happens, something within her begins to reorganize. Her center shifts. She no longer lives entirely from the outside in. Instead, she begins to listen to something deeper. Jung referred to this deeper center as the self. The self is not the ego. It is the organizing principle of the psyche, the force that moves a person toward wholeness. Choosing herself does not mean rejecting relationships. It does not mean becoming selfish or disconnected. It simply means that her inner truth can no longer be abandoned in order to maintain external approval. And when a woman reaches this stage, something remarkable occurs. She becomes harder to manipulate, harder to guilt, harder to control through expectations. Not because she becomes cold or uncaring, but because her center of gravity has moved. She is no longer living entirely from the outside in. She is beginning to live from the inside out. Jung described this moment as coming to selfhood. And interestingly, this shift rarely looks dramatic from the outside. A woman who has chosen herself may still care deeply for others. She may still nurture. She may still love, but the energy behind her actions has changed. Before, she may have acted from obligation, from fear of disappointing others, from the need to maintain harmony at any cost. Now, she acts from something different, from clarity, from alignment, from the quiet authority that comes when a person knows who they are becoming. And this often changes her relationships in unexpected ways. Some people will feel closer to her than ever before, because authenticity creates deeper connection. But others may feel uncomfortable, not because she has done anything wrong, but because when one person stops playing a familiar role, everyone around them must adjust. This is why choosing oneself can sometimes feel lonely at first. The old version of her was predictable. The new version is still unfolding. But Jung believed this stage of life is one of the most meaningful transformations a person can experience, because it marks the moment when life is no longer organized around expectations alone. Instead, it begins to organize itself around wholeness. The woman who once tried to be everything for everyone slowly becomes something much more powerful, someone who is deeply connected to herself. Someone who can love others without disappearing inside the relationship. Someone who no longer abandons her truth in order to belong. And in many ways, this is the quiet power behind the phrase, when a woman finally chooses herself. It is not an act of rejection, it is an act of integration. The moment when the life she shows the world, and the life that lives inside her, finally begin to become the same. And once a woman reaches that point, there is a quiet knowing that settles inside her. She understands that she cannot return to the version of herself who lived only for approval. Because now she has seen something deeper. And once you see clearly, you cannot unsee. And if you found this video meaningful, you are welcome to walk this path with us. Here we explore the deeper psychological patterns that shape human behavior, relationships, and personal transformation. Consider sharing it with someone who might also be on the path of discovering who they truly are. Subscribe to continue exploring the sovereign path. Because sometimes the most powerful transformations begin quietly, with a single moment of clarity.